I, 22F, had been living with my older sister Sarah, 31F, for the past 6 years. Our life took a drastic turn when our mom died in a car accident when I was 16. It was a rainy night in October, and Mom was driving home from her late shift at the hospital where she worked as a nurse. The police said she lost control of the car on a slippery curve. Sarah and I were at home, waiting for her to come back so we could have our weekly movie night. Instead, we got a visit from 2 solemn-faced officers. In the midst of our grief, we faced another blow. Our dad, Jack, 54M, couldn't be bothered to take care of us. He had remarried a few years earlier and had a new family. His wife, Melissa, 42F, made it clear that she didn't want us interfering with their perfect life. So, at 25, Sarah stepped up and became my guardian. The day after Mom's funeral, Sarah and I packed up our childhood home. It was a small, cozy house filled with memories. I remember sitting on the floor of my bedroom, surrounded by boxes, holding on to my favorite stuffed animal, a worn-out teddy bear Mom had given me on my 5th birthday. Sarah found me there, crying silently. She sat down next to me, put her arm around my shoulders, and we cried together. We moved into a tiny 2-bedroom apartment across town. It was all Sarah could afford on her entry-level marketing job salary. The first few months were tough. Sarah was working overtime to make ends meet, and I was trying to adjust to a new school while dealing with the loss of Mom and the abandonment by Dad. I still remember our first night in the new apartment. We had no furniture except for 2 air mattresses and a rickety table we found on the street. We sat on the floor, eating takeout pizza straight from the box, and Sarah tried to make me laugh by telling silly stories about her new coworkers. It didn't quite work, but I appreciated her effort. As time went on, things got a bit easier. I got a part-time job at a local diner to help with expenses. The owner, Mrs. Rodriguez, took a liking to me and often sent me home with leftover pies and casseroles. Sarah got promoted at work, which meant longer hours but better pay. We slowly furnished our apartment, piece by piece, mostly from thrift stores and yard sales. During all this time, we never heard from Jack. No calls, no messages, not even a card on our birthdays. It was like we didn't exist for him. Sarah and I leaned on each other, and over time, we became not just sisters but best friends. We had our movie nights every Friday, just like we used to with Mom. We'd curl up on our second-hand couch, wrapped in blankets, and watch everything from classic comedies to cheesy horror films. Fast forward to when I turned 20. I was in my 2nd year of community college, studying to become a nurse like Mom. Sarah had been promoted to marketing manager and was dating a nice guy named Tom. Things were looking up for us. Then, out of the blue, I got a Facebook message from Jack. He said he wanted to reconnect and apologize for being absent. I was skeptical but decided to give him a chance. We started talking regularly, and he even invited me to dinner a few times. The first dinner was awkward. We met at a fancy restaurant, the kind of place Sarah and I could never afford. Jack looked older than I remembered, his hair more gray than brown now. He asked about my studies, my job, my friends. He seemed genuinely interested, and for a moment, I allowed myself to hope that maybe, just maybe, he wanted to be a real father to me. Over the next few months, we had more dinners. Sometimes, Melissa and my half-sister Emma, 8F, would join us. Emma was a sweet kid, always excited to see her big sister. Despite my reservations about Jack and Melissa, I found myself warming up to Emma. Things seemed to be going well until I found out the real reason behind Jack's sudden interest in my life. It happened during one of our dinners. Jack was acting nervous, fidgeting with his napkin and avoiding eye contact. Finally, he blurted out that Emma needed a bone marrow transplant. Apparently, I was a potential match. I sat there, stunned. All those dinners, all those conversations, they were just a build-up to ask me for bone marrow. When I didn't respond immediately, Jack launched into a speech about family duty and how Emma was just an innocent child. Melissa chimed in, talking about how this could be my chance to really become part of the family. I exploded. I told Jack exactly what I thought of him and his sudden fatherly concern. I reminded him of all the times he wasn't there, my high school graduation, my first heartbreak, the countless nights Sarah and I struggled to make ends meet. I asked him where his sense of family duty was then. Jack tried to guilt-trip me, saying Emma's life was at stake. But I refused to budge. I told him that while I felt for Emma, I wasn't going to be used as a spare parts bank for his new family. Then I walked out of the restaurant, ignoring their calls to come back. When I got home, I broke down in tears. Sarah held me as I told her everything. She was furious at Jack but proud of me for standing up for myself. She reminded me that I didn't owe Jack or his new family anything. We both blocked Jack on all platforms after that incident. A few months passed, and we heard through a mutual acquaintance that Emma had found another donor and was recovering well. I felt relieved for her but still angry at Jack's manipulation. Last week, I got a call from Melissa. She told me Jack had been in a car accident and was in critical condition. She insisted I needed to come to the hospital because he was asking for me. Her voice was tearful as she described how he kept mumbling my name in his semi-conscious state. I didn't go. As cruel as it might sound, I felt nothing. This man had abandoned me when I needed him most, tried to use me when it suited him, and now expected me to drop everything and rush to his side? No way. Melissa called again yesterday, sobbing. Jack had passed away. She berated me for not coming to the hospital, saying I was a horrible daughter and that Jack had always loved me. She said I needed to be at the funeral to say goodbye to my father. I hung up on her. I don't plan on going to the funeral. To me, Jack was nothing more than a sperm donor. He proved time and again that he had no genuine interest in being a part of my life. Sarah agrees with my decision, but I can't help feeling a bit guilty. Am I wrong for not wanting to attend my own father's funeral? Should I have gone to the hospital when he asked for me? I keep telling myself that I don't owe him anything, but there's still this nagging feeling in the back of my mind. Jack's family has been blowing up my phone, calling me heartless and selfish. They say I'm disrespecting his memory and that I'll regret this decision for the rest of my life. But I can't bring myself to pretend to mourn a man who was never really a father to me. I need some outside perspective. Am I the asshole for refusing to attend my father's funeral? Update 1, it's been 2 weeks since my last post, and a lot has happened. First, I want to thank everyone for their support and advice. It really helped me stand my ground during this difficult time. As I mentioned before, I didn't attend Jack's funeral. Instead, Sarah and I spent the day together, looking through old photo albums of our mom and remembering the good times we had as a family before everything fell apart. We found a picture of us at the beach when I was about 7 and Sarah was 16. Mom was building a sandcastle with me while Sarah was pretending to be annoyed at having to hang out with her little sister, but you could see the smile she was trying to hide. It was bittersweet, remembering how happy we were then. The day after the funeral, Melissa showed up at our apartment unannounced. She was a mess, her eyes were red and puffy, her hair disheveled. She started yelling at me in the hallway, loud enough that our neighbor Mrs. Johnson poked her head out to see what was going on. Melissa was saying how I had embarrassed the family by not showing up, how Jack had always loved me even if he didn't show it well. Sarah stepped in and told her to leave, but Melissa refused. She said she wouldn't go until I agreed to come to a memorial service they were planning for next month. She went on about how it would mean so much to Emma to have her big sister there, and how it was my last chance to make things right with Jack. I lost my cool at that point. I told Melissa exactly what I thought of Jack and how he had treated me. I reminded her of how she had stood by and let Jack ignore us for years, only to come back when they needed something from me. I explained that he was never a father to me, and I owed him nothing. I also told her that her harassment was unacceptable and that if she didn't leave immediately, I would call the police. Melissa left, but not before telling me that I would be hearing from their lawyer. Apparently, Jack had left me something in his will, and she was threatening to contest it if I didn't start acting like a proper daughter. I was shocked. I had no idea Jack had included me in his will, and honestly, I didn't want anything from him. Sarah suggested we consult a lawyer just to be safe, so we made an appointment for the following week. A few days later, Emma reached out to me on social media. Unlike Melissa's angry messages, Emma's was heartbreaking. She sent a long message about how much Jack had loved me and how he had always regretted not being there for me. She talked about how Jack would sometimes look at old photos of Sarah and me, and how he kept a picture of me in his wallet. She begged me to reconsider coming to the memorial service, saying it would mean a lot to her to have her big sister there. I felt terrible for Emma. She's just a kid caught in the middle of all this adult drama. I wrote back to her, explaining as gently as I could that while I was glad she had a good relationship with Jack, my experience with him was very different. I told her about some of the times Jack had let me down, missing my high school graduation, not being there when Mom died, showing up only when he needed something from me. I told her that I couldn't pretend to mourn someone I didn't really know or love, but that I hoped she could understand and respect my decision. To my surprise, Emma responded with understanding. She said she was sorry for what I had gone through and that she hoped maybe someday we could get to know each other better, separate from all the Jack drama. It was a mature response for an 8-year-old, and it made me wonder how much she really knew about the situation. The lawyer appointment was eye-opening. Turns out, Jack had left me a significant amount of money, enough to pay off my student loans and then some. The lawyer explained that Melissa had no grounds to contest the will, as Jack had been of sound mind when he made it. He also showed us a letter Jack had written to go along with the will. In it, Jack apologized for being a terrible father and said he hoped the money could give me the start in life he should have helped with. I'm conflicted about the money. On one hand, it feels like blood money, a way for Jack to ease his guilt even after death. On the other hand, it could really help set me up for the future. Sarah thinks I should take it and use it to build the life Jack never helped me have. She pointed out that it's the least he could do after everything. As for the memorial service, I'm standing firm on not attending. Melissa has been calling and leaving voicemails, alternating between guilt-tripping and threatening. I've blocked her number and am considering getting a restraining order if she doesn't stop. This whole situation has been exhausting, but I'm grateful to have Sarah by my side through it all. She's been my rock, reminding me that I have the right to set boundaries and stick to them. We've been spending a lot of time together, just talking and processing everything that's happened. Last night, we stayed up late making our mom's famous chocolate chip cookies and sharing memories of her. It was nice to focus on the parent who was always there for us, instead of the one who wasn't. I'll update again if anything significant happens, especially regarding the will situation. Thanks again for all your support. Update 2. It's been about a month since my last update, and things have taken an unexpected turn. I'm still processing everything that's happened, but I'll do my best to explain. First, about the will. After much deliberation and talks with Sarah, I decided to accept the money Jack left me. As many of you suggested, I'm viewing it as a form of restitution rather than a gift. I've used part of it to pay off my student loans, and I'm setting aside the rest for future education or possibly a down payment on a house. It feels strange to benefit from Jack's death when I felt so little for him in life, but Sarah reminded me that this money could help me build the future Mom would have wanted for me. Now, onto the more surprising developments. A week after my last update, I received a package in the mail. It was from Jack's lawyer, sent as per Jack's instructions in case of his death. Inside was a letter and a USB drive. The letter was long and detailed. In it, Jack explained a lot of things about his past that I never knew. He admitted to being a coward for abandoning Sarah and me after our mom died, but he also revealed why he felt he had to stay away. Apparently, our mom had been involved in some illegal activities before her death. Jack claimed he didn't know the full extent of it, but he was afraid that by associating with us, he might put his new family at risk. He wrote about late-night phone calls Mom would get, about strangers showing up at our house, about Mom coming home with unexplained bruises. He said he regretted his decision every day but felt trapped by fear and guilt. The USB drive contained documents that seemed to support his story, old emails, some legal documents, and even a few photos I had never seen before. There were pictures of Mom with people I didn't recognize, in places I'd never seen. It was a lot to take in. I showed everything to Sarah. She was as shocked as I was. We spent hours going through the documents, trying to make sense of it all. Sarah remembered some things from when we were younger that suddenly made more sense in light of this new information. She recalled a time when she was about 12, and she overheard Mom arguing with someone on the phone, saying she wanted out. At the time, Sarah thought it was just a work dispute. I'm still angry at Jack for abandoning us, but this new information has complicated my feelings. I can't condone his actions, but I think I understand them a little better now. It doesn't excuse what he did, but it does explain some things. Melissa called again last week. This time, her tone was different. She apologized for her behavior and asked if we could meet in person to talk. After some hesitation, I agreed. We met at a neutral location, a coffee shop downtown. Melissa brought Emma with her. The conversation was awkward at first, but as we talked, I realized that Melissa hadn't known the full story either. Jack had kept a lot of secrets from everyone. Melissa shared some stories about Jack from their life together. She talked about how he would sometimes get quiet and distant, especially around the anniversary of Mom's death. She mentioned finding him once, late at night, looking at old family photos and crying. It was a side of Jack I had never seen or considered. Emma asked if she could stay in touch with me. Despite everything, I found myself saying yes. She's an innocent in all this, and I think having a relationship with her might be healing for both of us. We exchanged phone numbers, and she's been texting me about her school projects and her pet hamster. I'm still not sure how I feel about everything. Learning about our mom's past has opened up a whole new set of questions. Was she really involved in something illegal? If so, what? And how much danger were we in without even knowing it? Sarah and I are considering hiring a private investigator to look into it further, just to make sure there are no other surprises waiting for us. We want to know the truth about our mom, even if it's difficult to hear. As for Jack's memorial service, I've decided not to attend. However, I did agree to visit his grave with Sarah sometime in the future, when I feel ready. I think it might help provide some closure. This whole experience has been a roller coaster of emotions. I'm grateful for Sarah's unwavering support and for this community's advice. I'll update again if we uncover anything significant about our mom's past. Update 3. It's been 6 months since my last update, and I finally feel ready to share what's happened since then. Sarah and I did end up hiring a private investigator to look into our mom's past. What we uncovered was both shocking and heartbreaking. Our mom had indeed been involved in some illegal activities, but not in the way Jack had implied. She had been working as an informant for the FBI, helping to bring down a major drug trafficking ring. Her death, which we had always believed was due to a car accident, was actually a murder made to look like an accident. The PI found evidence that suggested Jack knew about this. He hadn't stayed away from us out of fear for his new family's safety, but because he was somehow connected to the people our mom was informing on. We're still not clear on the extent of his involvement, but it seems he chose to protect himself rather than us. When we confronted Melissa with this information, she broke down. She swore she had no idea about any of it. We believe her. She's been cooperating with us and the authorities to uncover the full truth. As for Emma, this revelation has been hard on her. She's struggling to reconcile the father she knew with the man we've uncovered. I've been trying to be there for her as much as I can. Despite everything, we've been building a relationship. Last week, I attended her school play. She played a tree, but she was the best darn tree in the whole forest. Sarah and I have been in contact with the FBI. They've reopened the investigation into our mom's death based on the new evidence we provided. It's been a difficult process, dredging up old memories and pain, but we're determined to see it through. We want justice for our mom. The money Jack left me has taken on a new significance. I'm using part of it to fund the investigation and to seek therapy for myself and Sarah. We're both dealing with a lot of complicated emotions and trauma. Melissa has been surprisingly supportive through all of this. She's horrified by what Jack did and has been doing everything she can to help us uncover the truth. She's even offered to testify if it comes to that. As for me, I'm still processing everything. My anger at Jack has transformed into something deeper and more complex. I'm angry at him for his deception, for choosing himself over his children, but I'm also sad for the relationship we never had and now never will. I've started volunteering at a support group for children of incarcerated parents. It's helping me work through my own issues while also giving back to others who are struggling with similar situations. This journey has been incredibly difficult, but it's also brought some unexpected positive changes. Sarah and I are closer than ever. I have a relationship with my little sister. And most importantly, we're finally on the path to understanding our past and honoring our mom's memory. Last week, Sarah and I visited Mom's grave for the first time in years. We brought her favorite flowers, yellow daisies, and spent some time just talking to her. We told her about the investigation, about how much we miss her, and how we're finally learning the truth about her life. It was emotional, but also cathartic. I don't know what the future holds. The FBI investigation is ongoing, and we're bracing ourselves for whatever truths it might uncover. But I'm facing it with a strength I didn't know I had. Sarah and I are in this together, and for the first time in a long time, I feel like we're not just surviving, but starting to live again. Thank you all for your support throughout this journey. Your words of encouragement have meant more than you know. I may not update again for a while, as we're focusing on healing and moving forward. But know that your kindness has made a real difference in our lives.